You're listening to the Canadian Broadcasting Network, a great way to start off your morning. Good morning, Canada. Thanks for tuning in to the #1 radio broadcast in all of Canada, CBN, the Canadian Broadcasting Network. My name is Rachel Cohen, and I'm going to be the broadcasting host for this morning. It is currently 8:30 a.m. in the morning on June 17, 1932. There's ducky weather today with a temperature of 24 degrees Celsius. You chose a swell day to tune in because today we will be discussing a very important and interesting topic. Before the 1920s, Canadian artists were greatly influenced by what was happening in Europe, which was at the time the focus of artwork. Canadians sometimes had tried to imitate European paintings. But today on CBN, we are not going to just be talking about artwork in the past decade. We will be discussing a very important group which had a big impact in Canadian identity and artwork. This group is called the Group of Seven, which is a loose association formed by Canadian artists. The 7 members of this group are Franklin Carmichael, Lawren Harris, A.Y. Jackson, Frank Johnston, Arthur Lismer, J.E.H. MacDonald, and E.H. Varley. These artists were drawn together by their common frustration involving the conservative and imitative quality of most Canadian art. Because of their common frustration, they started to experiment with new and different styles. They wanted to paint the Canadian landscape in a new way by expressing the feelings that the landscape inspired in them, instead of showing scenes realistically. Their paintings captured the rhythm and mood of the nation's landscape. In the beginning, people thought that the landscape was ugly and not worthy of being painted. When the Group of 7 painted, they were rejected and many would razz them. But over time, they have become an important part of Canadian identity. The artists traveled around Canada in places such as Algonquin, Algoma, Lake Superior, the Rocky Mountains, Nova Scotia, and more. They traveled in search of the typical Canadian landscape painting. After their first exhibition at the Art Gallery in 1920, they started to identify themselves as a landscape school. Their last exhibition was held last year in 1931 at the Art Gallery of Ontario. It is predicted that over time, their paintings will be worth heavy sugar because of how much people started to love their paintings. Well, that's all we have for this morning, folks. Thanks for tuning in to Canada's #1 broadcasting network, CBN. But lastly, a word from our sponsors. Tired of writing letters? Tired of having to meet up with someone just to have a conversation? Well, say no more. Introducing the telephone, now being sold in stores near you for the cheap price of only $14. Available in black, gray, and brown. Buy them quick while supplies last.